welcome to a video tutorial with Marklinofsweden. This video is sponsored by Model Railroad Academy. In this video we'll go down to Swiss and visit a guy there and help him plan his model railroad. We will also ride with the famous Vielen Express. Did you know that Model Railroad Academy is an online site where you can find inspiration and information of how to build and plan your model railroad? I've been doing up to today, I think, an excess of 50 videos for Model Railroad Academy. So if you like my content, please get over to Model Railroad Academy and join there. I'm putting up a link to where you can join now. They have a deal for $1.49 for 12 months. Besides from the video I made for Model Railroad Academy, there are tons of other materials made by recognized people within the Model Railroad sphere. But now let's board the plane and go down to Swiss.
So I took off from Stockholm Arlanda Airport for the short flight down to Swiss and the city of Lucerne. My host was kind enough to start out with a city tour of Lucerne, just to give a feeling of what the city looked like, the beautiful architecture just by the water, but also some historic information about the city. Next up, we went to the Museum of Transport. Here we checked out the different type of rolling stock which have been operating along the lines in Swiss. And of course, here you found the classic Crocodile as well. I can really recommend visiting this museum. It was very much worth the visit. It also contained a lot of information about the railway lines in Swiss, how the tunnels were made, but there was also entertainment for the younger kids running with the train outside. The next day we went over to the largest public layout in Swiss. This gave a very good idea of how they have captured the Swiss landscape, what components and what prototypic environments they have picked as inspiration to build this model railroad. This is always very useful, going to layouts like this, to get an idea of maybe I like this or I like that, or well, that will be too much work or take up too much space, or well, that will fit fine, or see how they combine the narrow gauge mountain lines with the standard tracks, etc. So it's very useful to visit a layout which has the same theme that you are planning to build at home. Then we went on a longer trip along the railway lines and the dense railway net in Swiss to have a look at the line-side landscapes and also what the industries look like typically and how they are connected to the main line. But we also got some nice time to view the sights before we reached the destination of our travel, namely the Bernina Express, which would take us over the Alps into the Italian side. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage railway line. It has an excess of 190 bridges and more than 80 tunnels, and of course a kind of bucket list train ride, both for me and my host. And towards the end of the ride, this classic serpentine type where the train passes under the same bridge it just passed over. This was a truly fantastic train ride and I can really recommend